I made a mistake with money and ended up losing more than $4,000. I'm going to tell you about it in this video. I've got my little cheat sheet here, and just to let you know, sometimes I screw up with money, just like everybody else. I want to tell you about, I want to take you back in time to 2020, when I thought I was going to become a real estate investor. I did thousands of hours of research. Bigger Pockets Money, Bigger Pockets Real Estate. Like, they had several podcasts at the time, I believe, and I listened to everything, just consumed that information like crazy. And I thought I was going to become a real estate investor, and I'd been watching houses, and I saw this house here in my town, and the price just kept going lower and lower and lower, and I was like, you know what? We're going to go for it. I did a bunch of research on the property and things, and this house was a HUD home. For those of you that don't know, HUD, H-U-D, it stands for Housing and Urban Development, all right? What HUD does is they sell foreclosed homes that were once insured through the FHA program, the first home buyer program. And they try to recover as much as they can for the government. That's what HUD does, from what I understand. There might be people out there that see this video that know way more about this than I do, and feel free to comment below and let me know what I got wrong in this story. I'm sure I made my fair share of mistakes that I don't even realize I made. But let me tell you what happened. So I ended up going back and forth with HUD, negotiating this home, and I got it under, we came to an agreement on a price, and there was, in order to lock in that price, I had to put down earnest money. And the earnest money was right at I think it was exactly $3,000. And I learned at the time that it was before I made the payment, that since I was an investor, I wasn't planning on living in the home. I wanted to buy the home, fix it up, and either rent it out or flip it or sell it, And I learned that when you're buying something from HUD, if you're an investor, the rules are a lot more strict than if you're like a first-time home buyer buying from HUD. So any earnest money you put in, if the sale doesn't go through for any reason, from what I understand, maybe that's changed now, or maybe there was loopholes back then that I wasn't aware of. But if it doesn't go through for any reason, HUD keeps your earnest money. If it doesn't go through for any reason, HUD keeps your earnest money, if you're an investor. So that was $3,000 right there that I was putting at risk, but I was fairly sure that the deal would go through, it was looking good. So we proceeded, and I got all the inspections done. I got a home inspection. I think that was probably $400, $500, $600. I don't remember. Like I said, this was back in September. Well, the few months leading up to September of 2020 was when all this was going on. I had a plumber come out and do a septic test, do a scope down in, well, it wasn't septic, it was going down to the city line, but I wanted to make sure it was old terracotta pipe, and I wanted to make sure that it wasn't collapsing in or anything. So I paid for that. That was probably, I don't know, $150 or something like that. I had someone come out and do a foundation inspection, because the foundation was a little sketchy, and I thought that there was going to be work that needed to be done there as well. Excuse me. I think that cost me a couple of $100. So as you can see, it's adding up real quick. That's what real estate does. It adds up real quick. And this isn't even to mention the time researching. Like I said, thousands of hours listening to Bigger Pockets and other real estate investing platforms, other real estate investing content. And then there was the loan application, that takes time. And then just the stress. Oh my goodness, the stress and the busy work of getting all that done. It's pretty heavy. For anybody that's bought a home, they know. But for some reason, if you're doing it to invest, it's worse. I swear it is. Of course, this was the only house I ever really seriously went through the process of trying to buy. So I could be wrong on that as well. So I had a lot of money tied up there, probably well over $4,000 when it came down to it. So let me tell you about how I got screwed. So it was time, we were almost down to the closing. And as you know, the bank that you're receiving the loan from will oftentimes, I think pretty much always, they'll send one of their people or somebody they have under contract out to the property that they're going to be loaning on, and they'll do their own little inspection. All right, the home inspection that you got done, the professional home inspection that you paid $500 or $600 for, isn't good enough for the bank. They want their own inspection. So they sent somebody out, and wouldn't you know it, but it came back saying that I think there was a railing outside. There were some steps that go down to the driveway. I think there was a railing that needed fixed, and also there were smoke detectors that needed put in because there weren't smoke detectors in every room. And I think maybe there was a door lock that was messed up that needed replaced. It was like super basic stuff like that. Really easy to fix, okay? And I was like, oh, sweet, you know, we just got to get these couple of things fixed and we can go to closing. No, it's not that easy. What happened is I contacted HUD and said, hey, my bank is saying that before we can go to closing, these things need to be fixed. And what did HUD say? Oh, we don't fix anything. We don't do that. That's not something that HUD does. All right, because this house was unoccupied. There was no one in there. All right. So the bank said that I needed to fix these couple of things to go to closing or they wouldn't close. And HUD said, we don't fix those things. We don't do that. So I went to HUD and I said, okay, I understand that you don't do those things. Can I come in and I will fix the things at my own, like I'll pay for them. I'll go in there, I'll do the work, I'll fix the things so that my bank will give me the loan. Or if you want, I'll pay a professional to go in there, you know, and fix those things. Somebody that's, you know, a professional licensed handyman. What do you think HUD said? No, we don't allow that either. So I went back to the bank. I'm like, HUD won't do the repairs. They won't let me do the repairs. And the bank said, sorry, we're not going to give you the loan until those things. I mean, this was maybe $200, $300 tops of repairs that needed done to go to closing, and neither one would budge. I was frustrated, to say the least. My hands were tied. They had me in a corner, and I didn't really see any way out. Like I said, chances are someone's listening to this, and they're like, just sitting there shaking their head, and they're like, Richard, why didn't you freaking do this? Or why didn't you do that? Like, this would have been so easy. But I couldn't figure it out at the time. I got online and I searched and, you know, I tried to figure it out, but I couldn't figure it out. So what happened in the end? We didn't close. It was a stalemate. I thought about just breaking into the property and replacing the stuff overnight. Like a thief in the night that's leaving and fixing things instead of stealing things, and been like, oh, go check it out, you know, maybe maybe your inspector was mistaken, but I didn't do that. But anyhow, what happened? We didn't close. HUD got to keep my $3,000 of earnest money. Just poof, my $3,000 were gone. And that's a lot of money for us. That's a lot of money for us now. It was a lot of money for us back then. You know, we've got a 7-person family on a single income. As you can, you know, and I'm an optimizer, and we don't keep a ton of cash on hand. I'll talk about that a little bit later toward the end of the video. But HUD got to keep my $3,000. All the service providers that I used, the person that came and did our home inspection, the plumber, the foundation repair professional, all them, they kept their money, of course, that I paid them for their services, and I got the shaft. All right. That's basically how I lost over $4,000 trying to buy a HUD home and become a real estate investor. Now, it got like, there was kind of like some salt in the wound, because what did I do? Of course, I watched the property to see what would happen to it afterwards. All right, just to let you know, I had this property under contract for super cheap. I had it under contract for like, it was around $38,000. I didn't get out. I've still got the paperwork laying around somewhere for it, I think, but I didn't get it out. But I think I got it under contract for right around $38,000. And that was in September of 2020. All right, so just a few months later, in January of 2021, it sold for $43,000. All right, so somebody got, somebody bought it, not at as good a deal as what I had it under contract for, but they still got it cheap. All right, then in December of 2021, not even 1 year after it sold, somebody sold it for $175,000. Bought it for 43. They did some work. I saw the pictures when it was back up for sale. I bet you generously they had $50,000 into the renovation. All right, they didn't do a lot. That's generous. So maybe they had $93,000 total, and they sold it for $175,000. That should have been me. Oh man. That was rough, because like I said, $3,000 was a lot to us, and still is. $75,000, man, that would have been fantastic. Shoulda, woulda, coulda, right? And then in 2023, it sold again for $169,000, so a little bit less, but still holding that value more or less. And now it's for sale again for $190,000. I don't want it. I'm not gonna buy it, but I just looked it up on Zillow because I was curious. And when I was thinking about doing this video, I was like, I'll look this stuff up and see what's happening. So yeah, it was kind of rough. What did I learn from this? All right, so anytime you make a mistake, it's always a good idea to think, what can I learn from this? And the couple of things that I thought of is, real estate's not for the faint of heart. It's hard. Like I looked at a couple of other properties and did a bunch of research on a couple of other properties before I tried to get into this one. And it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and there's a million things to learn about real estate. There's so many different niches, whatever you want to call them. There's just so many things to learn, and it's brutal. Like if you love it, and I was pretty obsessed, so I didn't mind the research as much, but the legwork is hard, especially if you're working full time, or like me, I was working like 60 hours a week while trying to do all this real estate stuff on the side. And 60 hours a week, did I say that? I don't know why the 90's in my head, but I was working like 60 hours a week at the time. So it was brutal. And you're always going to have blind spots. That's the other thing. You can't learn everything about real estate. I mean, there's some guys out there that have been in real estate for 30 years and think that they've seen it all. But I think most of them, if any of you happen to see this video, please comment below and let me know. But I think even most of them will say, yeah, sometimes there's stuff that I don't know about real estate, even though I've been doing it for 30 years. There is the potential of more reward when investing in real estate, but there's also more risk. All right. It's kind of like single stocks. There's more risk for sure. I could have paid $4,000 for a stock, and that company went belly up, and I lost my $4,000. Just like with this house, it didn't work out. I lost over $4,000. Anyhow, I'm getting a little bit off task there. Sorry about that. What's the other thing I learned? Well, I will never deal with HUD again. They made me so mad. Unless I'm a cash buyer. So that's not going to be for a long time. Maybe someday I can be a cash buyer and I'll be like, all right, I'll buy from HUD. But if I have to go through a loan process, nope, I'm never dealing with HUD again. Forget it. Forget it. Fool me once, right? Shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. The other thing that I learned is that it's important to hold cash, to have a big cash reserve, especially if you're investing in real estate. Since then, I have boosted my cash some, but if like I said, I had it under contract for $38,000. If I'd have had $38,000 laying around in cash plus a buffer beyond that, I could have just paid cash for the thing. I was tempted to scramble and try to borrow money from a family member or something to try to pay cash for it at the time, but I just wasn't willing to do that. I just wasn't willing to do that. And I didn't have $38,000 laying around at the time. So had I had the $38,000, I wouldn't be making this video right now. I'd have bought the house. I would have never lost my $4,000. And, you know, maybe I'd be $75,000 or $100,000 more in the positive. It is what it is. Keep a big cash buffer, especially if you're planning on getting into real estate. Now, will I ever invest in real estate again after this? Or will I ever invest in real estate, period? I guess it wouldn't be again because I didn't get the house. Will I ever try to invest in real estate again? Well, maybe. I mean, technically I'm invested in real estate because I own my personal residence. But here's the thing. The older I get, I'm not that old, despite all the gray hair that you see. I'm 41. I've come to realize that the more stuff you own, stuff equals time, or stuff equals time that it's gonna take away from your life, all right? The more stuff you have, the more time you have to commit to that stuff, all right? And that equals more stress in your life. And that equals lack of freedom in a way. Now, I know that the professional real estate investors out there that have people manage their properties and stuff, and they're like, oh, I only spend an hour, maybe an hour a week on my 50 properties that I own. Okay, well, that's good, I guess. I think that's harder to do these days. I hate that. I hate it when people use the excuse of these days. I think that's hard to do in general when you only have maybe one or two real estate investments, all right? Can you get big enough to where it's almost hands off? I think so, if you manage it properly. But I don't think I'd be able to do that on the first property, probably not on the third or fourth property. I'd probably be managing it all myself. And I've got too much to do already. I'm still working. Well, right now I've been working as much as normal just because, you know, circumstances at work. But most of the year I'm still working 55, 60 hours a week, sometimes 65 hours a week. So, I don't know. And here's the other thing. One of the main reasons why I wanted to do real estate investing was because I kind of felt stuck. All right. And in just the past 5 years, as many of you might know, stocks have been doing really good. Like the market, you know, is there going to be a downturn soon? Probably. But people have been saying that for the past few years. Eventually it does have to come down. The stock market can't just go up forever. So eventually we're going to get that downturn. But what this steady increase in the market has done for me is it's helped me to obtain a vision to where I see my stock investments leading me to the financial freedom that I desire or that I wanted when I was trying to get into real estate investing. I don't know if I said that quite, I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say there, because I kind of muddled it. I, like many of you probably, want to have financial freedom in my life, financial stability for myself and for my family. And I saw real estate as a means of getting there faster because, I mean, just short 6 years ago, I guess it was, about 6 years ago that I was trying to do this, my investments weren't near what they are now. And I can see a path to where those investments over the next 10, 15, 20 years are going to be more than adequate to get me to where I want to go with way less stress than investing in real estate. So my desire to do real estate has decreased substantially because of that mindset shift. So, I don't know. What do you guys think? Put it in the comments. Do you want to be a real estate investor if you're not already? And why? If you are a real estate investor and you're successful, tell me what the secret is. If you're a real estate investor and you've made a big mistake and you lost some money, you know, $4,000 seems a lot to me. It seemed a whole lot to me back then. You know, maybe you lost more than that, or maybe you lost less than that, but it still stung. You know, if you want to leave me a comment, let me know I'm not out here all by myself. That'd be fantastic. Anyhow, if you've made money mistakes, you're not alone. I'm sure this will be the beginning of a series, and I'll let you know more money mistakes that I've made. I've made a few, and I've got a list of them that I was like, yeah, I should probably make videos about those. Anyhow, I really appreciate you guys watching. If you made it to the end, you're fantastic. This has been Money Talk with Richard, and I'll see you next time. Bye.